Hi, folks. Thanks for coming this evening. We're going to go through the highlights of the 2025 Baldwin Comprehensive Plan. So one really important thing to understand, this plan is only advisory. Any actual changes to expenditures the town makes, ordinances or regulations actually have to be adopted by the town and voted on, approved by the voters. So this plan is just it's a guide. Okay, so there are a number of important reasons for the town to have a comprehensive plan. One of the most important is that the last time we did a comprehensive plan was 1990. We're supposed to do one every 10 years, so it was time. But one of the things is we all see in the newspaper every day what is going on in Maine, and it's this growth that is coming our way. And one of the things is how does the town want to tackle this market-driven growth? What can we do to keep Baldwin Baldwin? I've been in Baldwin since 2013, and I have really noticed how, and I'm on the planning board as well, and I've really noticed how complex our local government has gotten. Nobody does that better than the selectmen here, and that's another thing that the comprehensive plan can kind of lay out is how is the town going to handle increasing complexities of local government, increasing demands on infrastructure, the cost of running the town, and probably one of the most important things for the comprehensive plan is what can the town do to enable the future that the residents of Baldwin want? How do we set up a plan to do that? So then the role of this comprehensive plan, and by the way, if anybody didn't get one, there's a copy of the full plan there, as well as just the plan excerpts that you can grab. So the plan is a guide for managing changes faced by the community. It serves as an expression of the community's vision for the future of Baldwin. The inventory chapters are a source of basic information about the natural resources and the built environment in the community. It's a sounding board for proposed ordinance changes. I really like this next statement because it really helps visualize what this plan is. It's a roadmap. It is a roadmap for the elected and the appointed officials of the town to steer Baldwin on an agreed upon course. If we're at point A now, and point B is 2035 or 2040, what do we want the town to look like at that point in time, and how are we going to get there? And I'll show an example of this next one later in a means that the proposed land use regulations should align with the comprehensive plan. Now, that said, the comprehensive plan is not a zoning ordinance, nor is it a law of any kind. It's an advisory document, setting out the community's vision and goals for the future, and then the strategies and tactics necessary to move the town in that direction. This is important too. So it guides what can be done. It establishes the boundaries of possible land use regulations, ordinance, or programs, but it doesn't create any. The town does not have to act on the comprehensive plan. It is not binding in any fashion. It is a guide. Here's a great example of how Wayne, Maine, used their comprehensive plan. There really is a Jellystone Park in Maine, and this is the picture is the entrance of Yogi Bear's Jellystone Park and Camp Resort at Androscoggin Lake in North Monmouth. And the select board members extended a pause last year on campground and RV development for an additional 6 months, while the town committee continued to work on updating campground ordinances. Why did they want to do that? Well, the Jellystone representatives proposed 94 new campsites in Wayne, in the Wayne portion of the campground. There were more in other county portions. That would allow for an additional 1,000 people in a 1,200-person town during its operating months of May to October. More than that, what they were going to put in were park model RVs. Those are semi-permanent housing units with kitchens and bathrooms included, designed to host up to 8 people. This blew a lot of people's minds in Wayne, and they started a petition to prevent the development through a moratorium, had a lot of public hearings and meetings, concerns about the health of Androscoggin Lake, and preserving the rural character of the 1,200-person town. And there's one thing that you'll see as we go through more parts of Baldwin's comprehensive plan, and that is that the people of Baldwin that completed the survey told us one thing loud and clear: keep Baldwin, Baldwin. Preserve the rural character of Baldwin. So this example was really timely. And here's the thing that really caught my attention when I read this article. The development proposal was the type of commercial development that was also not compatible with the Wayne Comprehensive Plan goal to, quote, protect the water quality of Wayne's ponds and streams and protect sensitive natural resources. And that goal was a direct quote from the Wayne Comprehensive Plan. So the relevance of this is it gave the town and the selectmen a guide or a North Star to use, an ability to guide development review towards what the public had collectively stated they wanted. There's other things that are important uses, things that the town can do that the plan calls for. And here's an example of how this worked in other main towns. Also very recent, in the fourth quarter of last year. L.L. Bean donated to 7 Maine land trusts. The gifts funded 6 projects in 6 counties to improve recreation areas and design better trails. All the funding was distributed before Christmas to tackle priority conservation projects in 2025. And what were they? So the Brunswick Topsom Land Trust was awarded $10,000 to open public access and highway farm, preserve and Topsom parking areas, picnic tables, benches. Another $14,000 for the project came from the Maine Outdoor Heritage Fund. The Kennebec Estuary Land Trust received $9,000. Upgrades to trails, $8,000 to Androscoggin Land Trust for its initiative on its Camp Dustin property. Down East Coastal Conservancy received $9,000 to help build 2 bridges and reroute a walking trail. So all told, the L.L. Bean Maine Land Trust grant program started in 2004, has provided almost $500,000 in grants to 128 projects across the state. Now you'll see one common thread through all of this, and that is that all these towns and all these projects that got this money had one thing in common. They had land trusts. And by creating those land trusts and having a comprehensive plan, the town can avail themselves of applying for and receiving these types of grants to do these kinds of things. And you'll see when we get to the strategies and tactics portion of the plan that that we have ideas for applying for and winning grants. This next one, I just added this morning. It was like it appeared just because we were having the meeting today, and it's so relevant. The Maine Farmland Trust closed on an easement to protect the Chipman Farm in Poland. Mary and Ellsworth Chipman wanted their farm to be protected forever after their passing. They did not want to see it become a development. They didn't want to see it sold and become a development. Their son, Ron Chipman, worked with the Maine Farmland Trust to fulfill that wish by completing an easement on the land. That farm's been in continuous operation since 1781. Ron farms it. His brother works the apple orchard and blueberry fields. And, he also runs the Chipman Farm Stand, the closest of which I go to up there in Raymond. It's 119 acres, 66 acres of open fields, 72 acres of farmland soil, etc. So it's preserved forever, and it's going to be available for future generations. And you will see that one of the important strategies that's in the Baldwin Comprehensive Plan is maintaining the open, rural, and small town character of Baldwin and prioritizing conserving large tracts of land. This is how you do it. So, where are we really at? And where have we come from? It's amazing. So, Jim Goloff was the select chairperson in 2022. And on April 19th of 2022, he signed the Memorandum of Understanding with Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission to get us started on this comprehensive plan. And we held our first meeting in August of 2022. So it's really been 3 years. And Norton Blake, Alan Goloff, Lori Downey, Bob Flint, Kathy Pierce, Joe Pierce, Don Sharp, Wes Sunderland, Paul Thomas, and Gordon Wentworth, and myself as chair, are the members of the Comprehensive Plan Committee. And we had the support of Kayla Jordan and some of her colleagues from the Southern Maine Planning and Development Commission. And Robin Anderson provided all of the administrative support. So what did we start with? We started with something that Norm and Alan actually worked on, and that was the 1991 Comprehensive Plan. It was a great document, and we used it as a guide to look at it every step of the way and say what worked, what didn't work, what do we want to carry forward. Then we did probably the most important part of the comprehensive plan process, and that was the community survey, some of which you here probably took. Well, we had a great sample. I mean, there's, between 800 and 900 households in Baldwin, and 1,400 to 1,500 residents. We had a survey sample of 125. I mean, that's like a 10% sample. Like normally, when you do marketing research, if you get 2 or 3% of your target universe, you're doing great, and you have a pretty good confidence and reliability and margin and everything and stuff. So that sample of 125 was very good, very representative of the community. We processed all those results, and we had all of the charts and analytics, and we did a public input session, kind of like this, on October 23rd of 2023. And we got feedback that helped us understand what people agreed with, what they didn't agree with, and what we should focus on. We then continued to work on with monthly meetings and work in between the meetings, 9 inventory chapters, population, demographics, economy, housing, it's all laid out in there. And when we finished with the inventory chapters, we really worked on the vision and goal statements for the comprehensive plan, the future land use plan, and then the strategies and tactics. And once we had a draft of the plan, we started last December with presentations. We first went to the planning board. That was on December 12th of last year. And then we presented to the selectmen. That was on December 17th of 2024. And that brings us to today, which is the public hearing. And the next and final step will be for the town to vote on the comprehensive plan and adopt it. This is really interesting to go through. This is the vision statement that the Comprehensive Planning Committee developed based on the results of the survey and listening to people at the town meetings. The people of Baldwin cherish their proximity to nature, their sense of community and self-sufficiency. As a close-knit community with pride in its historic and rural roots, Baldwin will balance small town simplicity with recognition of today's changing environment, especially emerging housing and service needs. And Baldwin will retain its quiet rural character by preserving large tracts of undeveloped land, supporting working woodlands and farmlands, continuing to allow areas for large residential lots, and promoting small local businesses. Baldwin will foster a high quality of life for residents of all ages that will encourage future generations to continue to call Baldwin home. Vision or mission statements like this are the North Star for a planning process. That's what we keep our eye on as we develop the goals and strategies and tactics that are really the roadmap for how to get to the future that Baldwin wants. And this one was quite a process to develop, and the whole committee was really happy with the way that was able to be crafted. The next step in the comprehensive plan is really the first step after that vision statement in saying, where are we really going to go? What is the roadmap? And it's the goal statements. Goal statements or objectives, these are really saying, what do we want Baldwin to be? And what's important to us? Number one, maintain the open, rural, and small town character of Baldwin. 2, make growth-related decisions based on infrastructure capacity, environmental conservation, and town finances. Don't get out ahead of ourselves. And 3, and this was one of the really important things that we loved in the 1991 comprehensive plan that we carried over to the 2025 comprehensive plan. And that is that the rights of property owners must be maintained. there should be a clear and compelling reason for the town to limit any property rights. 4, promote a high quality of life for families and people of all ages, ethnicities, and incomes. 5, keep Baldwin affordable and fiscally responsible. 6, make Baldwin an environmental, nature-based, business-friendly community. 7, protect Baldwin's unique and important natural resources. 8, conserve Baldwin's largely natural, undeveloped pattern of land uses, and increase access to and responsible use of open spaces. 9, maintain a safe and effective roadway system for vehicles, bicyclists, and people. 10, maintain Baldwin's historic development pattern. And 11, celebrate Baldwin's history as an agrarian and forest-based community. We probably took 2 or 3 months to really, 2 or 3 months of meetings to really finally craft all of those statements and think about them in words. And the way the plan works is those goal statements sit at the top of the plan, and from those goal statements flow strategies and tactics that actually provide a roadmap for how the plan can happen. So you'll see in the full plan and the plan excerpt on the table that this is where we start to get into the real specifics of the comprehensive plan. And it's the implementation tables. The implementation tables contain 51 tactics, or actually specific actions, that the town has identified as tangible ways to achieve the vision and the goals. So those 51 tactics are on pages 68 to 75. Now, among those 51 tactics are actually 5 priority tactics identified by the Comprehensive Plan Committee. And what we did is we gave everybody sticky notes. And we had all the tactics up, and people voted on their most important tactics. And then we summarized them and tallied them into which ones got the most votes. So these are the 5 tactics that the committee thought were most important, or possibly held the most promise or potential for Baldwin. Explore hiring a grant writer. Use a public planning process to create an access management plan for public open spaces and recreation areas. Designate a town ambassador to businesses and/or a community and economic development director to target small businesses, especially nature and recreation-based ones, like we have going in across the street. Fourth, review and improve zoning ordinances, including revising zoning standards to better support farming and forestry, as well as conservation activities. And I think that this last one is in there because everybody on the committee was old like me. That is to explore options for bus service by partnering with neighboring municipalities, so when we can no longer drive, we can get to the grocery store and to the doctor's office. And that brings us actually to the implementation tables, which I will lose my voice if we go through one by one. So that's something that we'll just cover at a high level before we open it up for comments and input and discussion. So each implementation table has a theme. So implementation table 1 is about land use and natural resources. So let's take the second strategy. Encourage traditional forest and agricultural industries, sound woodlot management practices, and minimal impact of development on natural resources around it. And then what we did as a committee is using the 1991 plan and brainstorming, we developed tactics that flowed from that strategy. Review and improve zoning ordinances, including revising zoning standards to better support farming and forestry as well as conservation activities. Use a public planning process to create an access management plan for new public open spaces and recreation areas, and apply for grant programs to support erosion control and water quality projects. We then took it a step further because we said to ourselves, you know, we talked about why did things happen or not happen as a result of the 1991 comprehensive plan. And we said, well, you know, people have to be responsible. So we talked about who has the responsibility for actually implementing some of these tactics, and we put a column in there for responsibility. And you'll see that a lot of them are the planning board or the planning board with support from like ad hoc committees, or the select board, or the select board with support of ad hoc committees. So you'll see in implementation table 2, the first strategy is prioritize conserving large tracts of land. A tactic, encourage 30% of Baldwin's land, about 7,000 acres, to be put under a conservation easement, land trust, or public ownership. And that's the planning board with nonprofit partners. Just like the example that we saw earlier on. We have implementation table 3, economic development and town finances. Implementation table 4 on quality of life. Implementation table 5 is on transportation and utilities. Support walkability, recreation, and community interaction, provide biking and walking options for residents to move around town. Support the utilities and infrastructure necessary to maintain Baldwin's quality of life. Support the completion of the Mountain Division Trail through Baldwin. And then the implementation table 6 is communications and government with a strategy like preserving and publicizing Baldwin's historical assets. So that basically is the summary and overview with some details of the comprehensive plan. Here's an important footnote at the very bottom that I want to go over with you. And basically what it says is, this is our plan. It is Baldwin's plan. It is not the state's plan. There is a new state office called the Maine Office of Community Affairs. It brings various existing planning programs from different agencies under one roof. DACF is the department that reviews the consistency of comprehensive plans. Communities can choose to make a state-consistent comprehensive plan or not. It used to be that state-consistent comp plans were eligible for different funding opportunities. That's not really the case today, although it may be the case in the future, especially as the Maine State Legislature is focusing increasingly on planning. Choosing whether to be state consistent or not is a choice that must be made close to the beginning of the planning process, as it influences how the process is conducted and what information is included in the plan. Baldwin chose to not have a state-consistent plan. It is our plan for our use. It is not being submitted to the state for them to review or determine consistency. If at some point in time Baldwin wants a state-consistent plan, we can go back and re-review it and add detailed financial statements and financial projections and forecasts and other things, and send it to the state for review. But that is not something that we chose to do. And that was a selection decision that the Comprehensive Planning Committee supported. Okay. Thank you to the Comprehensive Planning Committee for their work over the past 3 years in doing this and to Michaela and to Robin for the support in putting this plan together. I will turn it over to all you folks who like questions or comments you have, because Norm and Joe are here to answer all your questions.
Yeah, I would just like to say thank you very much for that. This process is long and arduous. Without Matt's talents doing this type of work, setting up a survey, analyzing the data and whatnot, we would not get a plan done. I appreciate the work you've done getting us to this point. Having said that, I think there's a lot of holes in it, so we can talk about that as we go forward, like some other people talk about.
That's why we're having the meeting. And find out what the holes are.
All right, well, let's start off with page 7.
Page 7
there, goal number
Page
3.
7 of the actual plan.
I think this is one of the ones that came from the previous plan, which is rights of property owners must be maintained. There should be a clear and compelling reason for the town to limit property rights.
Yes.
From that, I would take that this land should have a minimal touch to the landowner. In other words, we are not going to be restricting them unless there's absolute reason to do so.
Right.
And that was, I think, the goal behind the old zoning map, which is on page 61.
On page
61. The old zoning map is, it has a rural district, island district, and a village commercial district. And to a large degree, our land use ordinances will not match those. But when I look at the new map on page, future land use on page 67, I see this huge thing called rural land-based activities that I assume is doing some kind of restricting beyond what the old zoning map is. Otherwise, we would just use the old zoning map.
Well, are we getting into the interplay between future land use and zoning here?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I don't want us to assume that future land use is, well, go ahead.
Yeah. So, the future land use map is not a zoning map. However, it would be a guide towards future changes to the zoning ordinance. So it's kind of a blueprint document that makes suggestions about future zoning map, but it's not itself a future zoning map. So it's like the steps before, essentially. And then to answer Rob's specific question, from my understanding of working with the committee, the point of the rural land use activities future land use designation is not to limit existing rights, but rather to give extra protection to folks who are engaged in forestry, farming, conservation, etc. So it's rather to distinguish that and the rural zone to give more protection for those activities in the rural land-based area, while still allowing, large lot residential living, which is what the current rural zone and Highland zone.
And this is going to be kind of a roadmap for them to do their job. And if I look at the rural land-based activities definition, it says, environmentally destructive land uses are factors that are appropriate in order to suburban sprawl, which is hard to really define. Suburban sprawl, we can see it, and that's what we know what it is, but what is it all about? That's a different thing. So, the fact that it's not a zoning map, but it is the road map as to what we're going to do, in theory, that's what this is all about. So, in effect, it is starting the zone. And, that's my comment on it. I don't like that. I'll have another one for you here. You don't need to address that.
Bob, before we leave that, what's the point of bringing out that issue about the rural land-based activities?
I believe that we're starting to limit people's land rights by doing that. By putting that map up beyond what they currently are. We have a land use ordinance, we have zone maps that, that map with our land use ordinances, and now we're pushing this towards something else.
Maybe you missed that meeting, where we all agreed on this.
Matt, I might have missed the meeting, but I don't miss the direction, which is disappointing.
What? Go ahead, Joe,
So I look at this as somewhat of a protection for me as a person who has quite an investment in forest land in Baldwin. And I'm very aware that as time goes by and people develop land, they look at their neighbor and say, we don't like you starting logging at 6 in the morning because we don't get up till 9. And we're opposed to you starting up your machines. And so I look at this as then I can say, look, the town says I should be able to do forestry. This is what the comprehensive plan says. So I look on this as a protection of my rights as a landowner.
Which you can do under the
I'm looking at, Bob, we're looking at changes here.
Yep.
And as I say, you know, I have woodlots in town that when my family acquired them, there were no neighbors.
Yep.
Now there are neighbors.
Yep.
And those neighbors would like to curtail my rights to log in some places.
But the neighbors have land rights as well.
That's true. So I look at this as supporting the small town character of Baldwin, and you're not going to have large tracts of undeveloped land if you don't allow people to earn money with their land.
And small landowners should have the right to use their land to the best economic advantage.
Okay.
Sure.
As was mentioned, I served on the first comprehensive plan. I wrote that goal number 3 back then, and I think that's my exact word, right? The property owners must be maintained, must be clean and compelling reasons. I had to fight for it a little bit because our consultant who works for us called Market Decisions thought that was a little edgy and we were taking too much power from the folks up in Augusta who like to see it. I'm glad I wrote it, I'm proud of it, and I'm really glad we got it into this plan in an early section of the plan, so it appears as one of the overarching philosophies that the town of Baldwin is going to work on. I understand what Bob's saying, but I think that is a strong tool for us to prevent people from getting too ambitious in limiting property rights, such as Joe said. You guys didn't want to get the skidders going at 5 in the morning going ground still. So, anyway, I agree with your concerns, but I'm not quite as worried.
Yeah. I'll give you an example. If somebody has a piece of property and he wants to build a house on half of it for his son, he should be able to do that. And, we don't want to limit the ability of them to do that, or if they want to start a business, even if they're out in the rural zone, they want to be able to do that as well. And, I understand Joe, he doesn't want people to say, gee, don't make a noise out there. I don't think anybody's saying that that's what happens, other than maybe 50 years in the future.
I've had it happen to me.
Well,
Let me see if, Michaela can, shed any light on this, and then I have a solution.
One of the ways that the future land use map is really different than an official zoning map is that it could be the same zone in the future. Like the green and yellow areas on the future land use map could be the same zone, but in the only difference could be that in the rural land-based activities area, you have an ordinance that is a right to farm ordinance and a right to forestry ordinance. So that says that, forestry and farming activities are exempt from nuisance claims for neighbors, so to Joe's point. So the uses could be in the ordinance the same uses, even as they are now. It's just that there is the additional protection in the language for different zones that protect farming and forestry. So it literally could be the exact same uses permitted in conditional uses for those zones. So that's how it's different than the actual changing of the zones and the changing of the zone map.
I guess I was looking for some examples of what they had in mind. Maybe we could speak to that just in terms of like, what sort of property rights are you talking about? I think there are a lot of times when the property rights of one individual conflicts with the property rights of others, right? There is not a clear-cut definition of property rights. So I was just wondering what the spirit was behind that. What are some examples of things? Joe gave an example. Bob gave another example. Were there other examples in mind when you created that goal? Or that goal?
We're going quite a few years back.
Yeah.
If you read the town of Gorham on 114 and come this way, there's a big dairy farm there where the hill starts heading down this way.
Yeah.
If you look across the road, they built some really nice, expensive houses.
Right.
Again, this is 25, 30 years ago. Now that farmer had his cows out there, and as dairy farmers do, he's been spreading manure for years. Well, the rich folks up in the lovely houses, they're all gorgeous, big colonial.
Yeah.
They didn't like the smell of
Right.
manure. And
So
they,
you came and did this.
well, it was a nuisance to them, but again, that farm has been in business for years, and this is a reasonable customary practice when you're raising cattle. And they put that guy through hell. I don't see too many cows there anymore. Maybe he just got old. But that's the classic example of when people move into, again, next to Josiah's woodlot or next to a existing thing, and then wake up 3 or 4 months later and start complaining.
Yeah. So that we can emphasize it a little bit more, but then what about like, that intersection that, you know, I think we all, or a lot of us here would emphasize the farmers, but maybe in that case, I might emphasize a little bit more with that person living in a farmhouse that has massive gravel pit behind them. I don't know anything about the ownership of that land, but I think, you know, that's the kind of thing where it's like, it's hard to sort of grant your neighbor their property right when they're creating a massive gravel pit beside you, right? So there are places where property rights are hard to reconcile, right? The right of one person to build a massive gravel pit, and then the right of another to actually have, you know, a rural experience on their land in a rural town.
And that's how it's gonna be when there's so many people in the world and there are gonna be conflicts, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know how to fix it.
So, I was also at that meeting where we saw this new map, and, I think at the time, I remember being kind of stunned at how much area of the town it takes up. And not being totally clear, I felt like I needed to kind of absorb what's going on and what exactly that meant. And it's helpful to hear Michaela say that it's more about stating what people can do on that land rather than what they can't. But I think it's going to be really important because that area, that dark green area, I mean, to me, like it's at least half of the acreage in the town, I don't know. It's going to be really important if we want people to vote for this, they have to understand that their rights aren't being curtailed. And for example, I mean, I personally wouldn't vote for it if it meant that you had to have, if a residential lot had to be 10 acres in that whole area. To me, that's taking away from what people have been able to do in the rural zones. So I think we're going to have to be, and I know we can't be totally clear because it has to go through the planning board and the zoning process, but, you know, it feels like a big move that we need to be clear about.
I have a suggestion, and that is we can do this one of two ways. Folks, we're threading a needle here. I mean, personally, I like Norm's solution, which is to build a wall and make Standish pay for it. This influx of development from Portland, South Portland, West Portland, Standish, to the rural areas is a market force that at some point in time is going to seem like a tsunami. Now, we have to thread the needle to, on one hand, keep Baldwin rural and do all the things that the town people wanted us to do that are in the vision statement, yet protect the homeowner and land user rights of the people that are here. You know, and there are challenges to protecting and preserving large tracts of land and saying what you can and can't do with that land with the rights of homeowners. So I think the passage of time from when we finalized this draft plan back in September to now has apparently provided some vision or clarity for some of us in areas where we can improve it. So I suggest we do one of two ways, is that we leave goal number 3 absolutely the, maps on, 61 and 62, the future, land use, ideas. And we can pick particularly, take a look at page 65, the rural land-based activities. And we have the purpose and locations and corresponding zones, and we can provide some examples in there. And then we can work on clarifying exactly, what the future land use, really means, and probably explain a little bit more the interplay of future land use and zoning. So we're going to move this explanation up to the front before people see the future land use maps. Now, we can do that a couple ways. We can either meet again as a committee, and work on it, or, Michaela and I can work on it, and then we can send it around to people to look at it and send their comments in.
Just make a comment. The idea that conserve large rural landholdings, that can be done by the landholders. If they want to conserve it as rural sources of land.
Right.
The owner can do that without impinging on the property rights of the smaller landowners.
That was the example that we just saw with the Chipping Park.
So the person right beside him might complain, and Joe's foresters come out, but that's what you got to live with. But you don't want to be putting restrictions on those smaller landowners for the benefit of the larger landowners.
I never saw or felt that that's what this plan was promulgating, and what we have to do is go back and look at it and make sure that that is not an interpretation that people are going to get out of it. We'll work on this and send it around to the comprehensive plan committee and see the degree to which people buy into the changes. Now, one thing I do want to point out, and I asked this question before, and that is, I said, hey, if we have this public hearing, and then we get feedback, and we make changes or tweaks, we need to go through the whole process again, and have another public hearing or anything like that, and the answer is no, we do not. We get the feedback from the public, we do the tweaks or changes that we have heard, and then if the comprehensive plan committee and the selectmen are in concert with it, then it goes to
I have a comment about on the tactics on implementation table 2. It says report 35% of all of the land to be placed on the conservation business land tax and public housing. You know,
30% of 7,000 acres.
yeah, about 7,000 acres. And I assume that much of that does need to be island district, which is really not suitable for the development of anyway. But we take a third of the land and put it out of any possible reach of any development, evaluated the impact on the affordability of the remaining land that must be sold? And how that impacts our affordability of housing in this town? Because it will only drive the prices up.
That 30% figure is the state figure. The state would like to have 30% of the state of Maine be in conservation easement or public ownership. So it wasn't just something plucked out of the air.
I understand, but, northern Maine, which has a lot of wood, a lot of that is in a semi-conservation anyway, because it's under forest management. But, you know, we worry about the affordability of housing in this town, and we take that much of potential with our zoning, you know, acreage requirements for housing lots. We're just gonna make it more expensive.
Well, it would be very hard to have a goal of maintaining our rural character
Yeah, I
and
understand.
have a goal of building as many houses as we can.
Well, yeah, we don't want to build as many, but I don't know if we want to have a,
It's a goal.
yeah, we're just putting ourselves into a fight.
I can put it in a little bit of perspective.
Yeah.
Because I tried to see what that meant for the town of Walden. And it might seem like a lot, but right now, about 30% of the town is in tree growth.
Right.
So it wouldn't mean necessarily a lot more land being set aside for tree growth.
Okay.
What means otherwise than that, I don't know, but you know, it's assuming people in the tree growth, can take it out in the future, or if it's conserved, it's stuck in tree or whatever type of.
It's extremely difficult to get it out.
Yeah, but you have to understand, conserving land doesn't necessarily mean just leaving it to the wild.
No, you can, it depends on how it's conserved, you can have,
Right. There's various types of conservation laws are to continue to cut trees.
I'm just worried, that's all.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, the affordability of housing, in Baldwin, we've seen it, nosedive. You know, not, we have it good, believe it or not, compared to areas like Old Orchard Beach, which is just insane. So these are conundrums that we will have to work together to solve. There's a lot of moving parts, like lot size and how many residences, habitable residences you can build on a lot, and things like that. And there's a lot to wrestle with to maintain affordability for the people who live here now and their children. So these are things that we will hopefully, by laying out this plan and this path, we can form out some of these pitfalls, like you're pointing out, so that we can talk about how to maneuver around it.
So, we talked a lot about number 3 as a goal, but number 4 and 5 both talk about affordability as another goal. And I think, and as we're saying, it's a real crisis right now. People to be able to afford to live here. We made it harder on ourselves by the recent vote in the special town meeting to turn down the amendment to the land use ordinances that would have brought us into compliance with state law on LD 2003. to allow landowners to be able to put, accessory dwelling units on their home, which to me would really make sense. If these are our goals that hope for affordability, that's exactly what that would do, and now our zoning ordinances are out of compliance with state law, which is just gonna cause a lot of legal trouble. So if we're gonna sort of jump back in with some possible changes, I don't know how we can address that, but possibly we can put into our implementation table other measures that would help with affordability. Because I really don't see anything in there at this point.
I think that we're gonna have to deal with that one way or another, whether it's in the, plan or not. I would be, having been at the same meeting that you were, and hearing the tone and the temperament of the folks in attendance, I might as well just take this plan home and use it for kindling in my wood stove if we put a tactic in here that says, get so granular as to say, reconsider LD 2003, because it pitches that whole, home rule thing. And Lori, I believe that is a problem that will solve itself. It will, because when someone wants to build an accessory dwelling unit, and they come to the planning board, and the planning board is bound by law to administer the land use ordinance of Baldwin as it's written, we will turn down that accessory dwelling unit, knowing full well that it's a violation of state law, but we have to administer the Baldwin land use ordinance. Then the applicant will take it to the appeals board. And I honestly do not know whether the appeals board, I think they wouldn't be called an appeals board if they were bound to administer the land use ordinance exactly as they are. Well, if the appeals board has to turn them down for the same reason, then the people will take it to court. And as we know, when it goes to court, state law will prevail. And Baldwin, I'm a great believer in doing what Baldwin tells us to do. That's why we did the survey.
But if we are, it's not helping with affordability to saddle someone with taking, having to take the case to court in order to get what they have a right to.
It will play out, and Baldwin will need to make a decision whether it is going to even fight these people in court or just change the ordinance.
This doesn't seem like an efficient way to address the problem of affordability at all.
I understand. I understand, but, it's gonna resolve. And it will resolve way before, I mean, this plan has a vision of 10, 20, 30 years. This issue of affordability is going to play out much shorter order. I empathize, but I did marketing research for a living for Bristol Myers Squibb. And whenever I decided that when I was doing the survey, that I knew more what the answers should be, I almost got my ass fired. So I learned the hard way to listen to what the answers were from the people that we did the research with, the patients and the doctors and things like that, and implement that way. And that's really what we are doing with this comprehensive plan. We are listening to the voice of the people involved in, just like we have to listen to the voice of the people at Baldwin at a special town meeting.
So in line with that, thinking, why on page 28 do we kind of indicate that LD 2003 is in fact the long line involved?
What's that?
Why on page 28 do we imply dedicate almost the whole page to indicating that LD 2003 is the law of the land involved?
That was written before the town,
Or is it?
the town,
I think you would take it out if I'm not understanding behind it, that's all.
It's a simple declarative statement, but yeah, it does imply.
Well,
yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with pointing out what the state laws are, as long as we're not saying that, that Baldwin is, I think we say the right thing.
We could clarify that.
We say the right thing. The town should consider how each requirement will impact the zoning ordinances, as well as what pieces of the requirements will be applicable to Baldwin, and in what areas of the community.
Yeah, I know, but this whole thing, just leaving right down the road, says in July 2024, they're gonna take it back, and they're not.
I don't think that, by taking it out, I think we'd be sticking our head in the sand and playing ostrich and pretending that it doesn't exist. I think we should acknowledge that it exists. If we want to say anything, we can say, that, Baldwin, at a special town meeting, declined to, change our ordinances, because we prioritize home rule. Tell it like it is.
And maybe taking out those, the first two sentences in the last paragraph on that page, just because the timing doesn't make sense. Like, those these requirements take effect in, and then before that, but it's already past that. So I think we just take those two out, that would help.
Will lead you to believe that LD 2003 was approved by the town, and
No, we will make it clear that it was not.
Yeah, we can clarify that.
It's facts. We'll present the facts. That will be, so we have one and two, that we will do some tweaks, send them to the clerk. You only get, this is number 3.
Joe will tell you, when I read the revised land use ordinance, to make sure it was correct, I did what I find it wrong, so it's clear. This, on page 42, we talk about map 5, and then on the next page, we talk about map 6. I don't see those anywhere in the plan. Where are the maps? I see map 8, and I see map 4, but I don't see 5, 6, and 7.
Yep, those should be a full page attachment. I'll make sure those are put back in there. I think they just PDF the word.
page 47, we're taking credit for Baldwin Active Kids Program, which is detailed.
Which came from,
47, youth and adult organized recreation resources, the Baldwin Active Kids Program. That helps.
What about
It's not here.
it? No longer.
No. And it's been, what, years?
Yeah.
is there desire for it to happen in the future, or is it absolutely no thought?
Some people might want it, but it just doesn't fit here for the time.
Yeah, there will be, those are good catches. I think some of that is just because it was a 3-year process, so some of what we wrote was true when it was written. It's no longer.
And on page 63 at the bottom, and this is just to reinforce, again, implementation of rights of property owners must be maintained, there should be a clear determination for the town of property rights. I think that should be highlighted over and over again, and it should be, making sure that we implement the ordinances that we issue. Then, just to give you an example, is we're now looking closely at the shoreline zoning ordinance and its associated map, which put a huge lot of property involvement into resource protection zone. And, property that was not before in the resource protection zone, and probably does not need to be by state statute. So, and we've heard in a number of meetings that that's okay for members of the planning board, just let the property owner spend a lot of money and try to get their way up. But this is one way that we as managers of the town, restrict property rights. And so we need to be careful, how we do this, so that we're not, in essence, taking, it's a government taking when you restrict somebody's property rights. Right. And if you do it to the point where they can't use it, they can come back on the town to, get compensated.
It's taking without compensation.
That's what it is.
If you do it in an ordinance.
And there's at least 10 people with requests for building permits who've been turned down because their land is now in a resource protection zone. Some of it might be correct, but I think to a large degree it's not.
But this is an immediate problem.
It's an immediate problem.
Is it something that we would like to recommend that we address in some specific in some specific way, in the comprehensive plan?
Well, just keep it in mind, you draw these maps that look big green swaths across there. And 10 years down the road, somebody's going, holy crap, I can't do that because of this map. Or somebody made an ordinance based on this map. And, you have to be very careful. This is a roadmap. Well, as you said at the beginning, this is a roadmap for future ordinances and zoning of the town. That's my thought, because we're very light touch on it.
Good.
Yep.
Bob,
You got it.
I got the message. But here's the thing. You're on the committee. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna live. Maybe I'll be here another 10 years involvement. But I don't wanna listen to you pissing and moaning about the comprehensive plan and any holes in it when you were on the committee that helped create it. And by that, what I mean is that if you think we need to make a specific change, I'm not clever enough to ferret out exactly what you want. So you need to tell the committee what your position is and what changes we can make so that 3 years from now, you're not sitting there saying, you know, this comprehensive plan still has holes in it.
Matt, I'm sick and tired of you moaning too.
Yeah,
This, I was one, so committee, what, 8, 9 people, something like that. And I'm sorry I didn't make every meeting, but when I did make these comments. And I was outvoted, and that's fine.
I don't remember you being outvoted.
Oh, yeah. But now, I'm a member of the community. And when I see this thing, I can make my concerns voice. And when it comes time to vote, I can do the same thing. I'm making my comments. You, as a committee, and I'm a member of the committee, I decide what to do with it. But,
So I'm not disagreeing, Bob, I'm asking you to be, as a member of the committee, to be more specific in the changes that you want to see to the plan or the maps, so that we can make those changes and people can, vote on them. Just need more granularity and specificity so that we can, fix the holes.
yeah, okay. But, like I said, I was outvoted, and I probably will be outvoted again, but that's okay. I'm just, in a public forum, I'm giving you my concerns.
And my observation being between the two of you, I think it's good that this comes up now.
Oh, yeah.
Before we come to town meeting, he stands up and they vote the thing down.
Obviously, I'm a little surprised,
Yeah.
because none of this was mentioned when I presented to the selectmen either. So I'm just, you know, a little surprised that it's from a member of the committee and the selectmen that we're hearing, all of this at this point. And I feel bad in a way too, as the chair, that we've gotten to this point and you felt strongly enough about things that, you were outvoted and you need to bring them up again. So, just being perfectly transparent, here. And, you know, the whole goal here is to have a plan that when we take it to a special town meeting and people vote on it, that, these holes and issues, have been addressed.
It needs to be very vanilla, put it that way.
So, what I'm hearing from Bob is he wants a whole new, comprehensive plan. That's what I heard. Maybe I'm mishearing, I mean, I'm hearing that you
Go,
don't
wait,
want.
go and see if I said that.
No, you didn't, just keep talking.
I have a question about, getting this going on. Have the selectmen decided whether they will, finally, whether they want to do this at a special or a regular town meeting? Or haven't done it yet? I don't know which way to do it.
No, but I guess the comment earlier was it was presented to the select board, and we voted that yes, we would take it to a public hearing. And the public hearing, the purpose of that is to hear comments from the public. And that's what this is.
One thing I just want to say, with any comprehensive plan in any community, right, it's not going to be a perfect document, probably to anyone who reads it, because it's not just one person's document, right, it's representing a ton of voices. Everyone is going to have at least one thing in that plan that they probably wouldn't put it in if it got to be their own plan. That's one thing. The second thing, I think it's good to think about what does this plan do that is different than what you currently have adopted? Does it improve upon that, right? Is it a better path forward than what you currently have? Is it more guidance? Is it more clarity? And thinking about it that way, is it more in line with the vision that all the residents have today than what the older plan does, for example? And so just having that perspective that, you know, it's not going to be a perfect document. You know, hopefully we can get it as close to perfect as possible. not gonna be perfect for any individual, and, you know, it's just keeping the holistic vision in mind, and, you know, hopefully it can, you know, hopefully there can be added value for each person when they look at this plan.
What specifically were you outvoted on? When Michaela and I go back to tweak this and fill holes, and we try and address this issue of the rights of property owners, what specifically were you outvoted on that you've been sitting on and that's been pestering with you?
That's pretty good. Just giving you my comment.
Listen.
So the conservation of 30% of the town, I think has implications on the tax valuation and the impact on other people in town. Not necessarily, but it has a great potential to do so. The other things are the maps that indicate that there's something different going on in a large portion of the town than what is currently zoned. The impact that might have, either now or in the future, of the ability of the landowners to use their land as they see fit. And I can say the reason they report it differently is because you envision something different than is currently in place in terms of law and land use.
I have to say, I did not understand or really hear that you had those concerns at that time. I really felt like the entire committee coalesced around the idea of keeping Baldwin rural. And we brainstormed at length about ways to keep Baldwin and not let it become Westbrook or Standish or Gorham. And the 30%, the 7,000 acres, the preservation of land, the maps that showed the rural future land use and things like that were all geared to keeping things more the way they are today and not letting Baldwin become a big subdivision. There was no intent at that time or even now that those goals or strategies or even tactics would be used in a way to inhibit property owners' rights. I don't recall that being a concern amongst the broader committee when we were developing the plan, and I don't recall that you had serious reservations about it. What Michaela and I will try to do is thread the needle a little better and provide examples and provide some clarification that ties the strategies and tactics more specifically to the goals, and also provide some caveats in here that specifically says where we have a particular strategy or tactic, that nothing in this strategy or tactic, is intended to inhibit or take without compensation the, land or property rights of the townspeople.
You have to understand, this is just me talking, right? This is a public meeting, I'm giving you my input, this is what I read in the plan. I've seen it before, I didn't make a comment during the meeting, but at the end of the day, who we have to sell it to is the townspeople. And if they're all in agreement with what you're bringing here, you'll be just fine.
No, we won't be.
Fine.
Because you sit on the select board and you influence the planning board and you have a lot of influence in this town. And you have a shitload of knowledge. You're the best person that we have in this town to understand the myriad of regulations that we have to deal with. You were the mover and shaker behind starting and getting the town to do this whole comprehensive plan. So, my belief is that if you are not personally committed to and motivated to implement what's in this comprehensive plan, that it is not likely to happen well or quickly. That's what I think.
I want to just one time, and then start it out. Is the select board have to, like you just said, they may not, this is just a outline sense, possibly, or do they have to implement?
No, see, that's the thing, on the very first page of the presentation deck, the town does not have to do anything that's in this plan. It is not binding in any way, shape, or form. It is purely a roadmap.
Really, the only more influential thing is that the planning board would have a really hard time justifying a zoning change that's like, let's put in, high density, high rise apartments, 10 stories in a highland district, because then you use the town to, that's a wild idea, right? And then you look at the comprehensive plan and you say, the comprehensive plan says we do not want that there. So the planning board, would be able to, approve it. That's really the only, power it has.
So it's really just an outline of how you it's not in stone, we're written in stone now, it's just a plan to possibly go forward with. But basically saying that we really want to keep it more below.
To clarify for the gentleman, there's two ways that laws are made, ordinances are made in the town of Albany. Number one, the selectmen can put an article into the town warrant at a regular or special town meeting, and the planning board can put articles regarding land use. But the people of the town of Albany are the legislators. These other folks, we just bunch of flunkies that work for us. Come to town meeting. Oh, by the way, 28 people came to town meeting last time? Go to town meeting.
Move it back to March. I don't put anything in, I don't care, I think, Bob, and maybe I'm wrong, but that map on 67 does bother me a little bit. Because the land that I own, which I have no intention of doing anything with it, and I'm too old to do anything with it anyway, and I'm sure I'll die on it. So I'm not just not like I don't want to do anything, I don't. But, you know, I can see why he's saying that. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's not why he's saying it, but it, that does, on 67, does kind of bother me with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess what I'd like to say is that making reference to the previous comprehensive plan, we had the same reference to 1991 or whatever, and now we're updating it. And 1991 or whatever it was, if you look at a definition of something specific, and now we're going in and revisiting that and perhaps expanding because of what we've seen in the time lapse here. Now you're expanding on that definition, but the issue that Bob is bringing up, corresponding in addition to expanding that definition, which is going to place restrictions on us, then we kind of need to look at that. Making that definition going forward, the areas that he's made mention to, I think, you don't have to walk. I think you need to look at that because people are going to, they vote this in and adopt it, only trying to say adopt the restrictions.
Yeah, so this is like an old-time gold diggers scale where they're weighing out the gold dust that they have found. And what we have on one saucer is goal number 1. Maintain the open rural and small town character involved. Big freaking challenge. Market forces are going to make that damn hard to do. You know, we tried as a committee to come up with gold strategies and tactics that can try and make that happen. But it's very hard to say how you're going to protect the land when you have on saucer 2 here, rights of property owners must be maintained. There should be a clear and compelling reason for the town to limit property rights, where we want to do some zoning to prevent somebody from turning their property into a trailer park. Okay? This is not easy to do. Now, what Bob is telling us is that he believes that the plan is weighted a little bit too much towards maintaining the open, rural, and small town character of Baldwin, and that there are some gaps or pitfalls where in doing that the rights of property owners might not be maintained. So, good, because we will go back and take a look at that in the plan and see if we can fine tune it a bit, thread the needle, provide examples and caveats, and look at the map and see if we can't do a slightly better job of balancing that. And as with any solution, Michaela and I will work to the point that everybody is unhappy. Yes, Wes.
I'd like to make a comment to the statement going on right now. The committee has responded pretty well to the survey and the wishes of the majority, and they wanted the town to maintain a rural atmosphere. People will always move in and slide Salt Creek, a little more. And
I grew up in Weathersfield, Connecticut, and I experienced an extreme situation of creep. My father built a house after the Second World War. We moved in 1949. I was 7 years old. Our house was a fifth road on a dead-end road, country all around us. 11 years later, when I graduated, there wasn't a building on left. The experience of the soldiers coming home from Second World War, building families, and bringing the baby boomers in. Tremendous explosion. All in this country now, we're trying to prevent it to become a form of Westbrook, slow it down, slow creep down. Instead of happening in 20 years, we may create this guide, so it takes 50, 70 years. That's all we're doing. It's going to happen. We're just slowing it down. The comprehensive plan is a guide, it's not law. If enough people want to move in, enough pressure, there'll be changes made in the ordinance and changes made in the law, so it happens. All we're doing is slowing it down.
Thank you, Wes. I'd like to just say that I agree with you, Wes, and it may be the first time. Thank you.
I'm gonna go home and drink and smoke cigarettes, so I don't live that long.
Before we depart, I want to give Michaela the opportunity, because she's going to be the person taking the first pass at this, and I'll be working with her on it. If she wants to get any additional clarity on the way they're trying to play this movie.
Well, I kind of wanted to also shift the tone a little bit and see if there are parts of the plan that stand out as things people really like that we can continue to emphasize. It's totally normal to go in the meeting, right? Because here's the things that are problems we want to fix. But, you know, are there parts that really, you know, spoke to you all and you reviewed it, or things that, you know, you're happy to see in there? And also, if anyone hasn't shared a comment yet, wants to share, I also want to make sure we give you the opportunity to say something.
I think that you've done an incredible job. I just have to say that I know every time this poor woman went back to be on any committee at all, I would watch her keeping herself in the car to go to another meeting, to do another thing, and I sit wistfully at home on the couch where she would rather be tonight. Thank you. I think that you've got the gist of how people involved really feel about their town. My dream was to live on Ricky's land, way up in the middle of nowhere where nobody could ever reach me unless they really wanted to, or I wanted to. Now, I think that guy could possibly bought that house that Ricky did have. But I happen to live on the best road in Baldwin, the best neighbors ever. And I'm very thankful for the people like Matt, Lori, Joe, even Norm. Put so much effort and time into making Baldwin the town that it is. We feel that, even though there's only half of it.
I would say that this committee is very dedicated. It's not that every town I work in has a committee that spends so much time, like, going through the details and taking the time to link things on different pages and boxes, like, that takes a lot of effort, so I appreciate it.
Thank you for you and your computer.
Anyone else has, I want to share with us spoken yet?
I just think you've done a phenomenal job as a committee, putting their ideas together, spending the time to do this. It requires so much more than 91. There's just so much more to have to deal with. And you're right, it's not going to stop. But slowing it down is the best we can do. That's great. You know, X amount of buildings per year and some of these other things so that people say, oh, maybe that's not the place that I should go. So putting that word out there and letting the universe know, no, this is a rural area. We don't want to have big businesses, big industries. And just saying, okay, this is what we want and being consistent. I think that matters.
Well, I think, you don't see Paul here, so I don't want to misquote him. He had mentioned to me, and it's true. And when change, the more they stay the same. When I was on the board of selectmen, we did a survey, and the exact same survey came back, what do you want? You don't want industry, you don't want big business. If you wanna have a mom and pop, if you wanna do this, that, now you've done it again, you're getting the same answer all over again. So, I think you're doing the very best you can. If we all could live another 100 years to see what the people following us decide to do, but, like you said, it's a roadmap. Yeah.
Thank you all for coming out this evening and, voicing your, thoughts and, opinions and, opportunities to, improve the plan. And I think that the changes that we're gonna make and the balancing and threading the needle a little bit on these things should make for a plan that has the best possible chance of, broad community, buy-in, approval, and implementation.
Thank you, Matt.
I got a lot of that. Thank you. Thank you.